It's been over 10 years. 10 years since we watched Nathan Drake put the treasure maps away, holster his pistol for the last time, and choose a quiet life over one final adventure. For a lot of us, it didn't just feel like the end of a game, it felt like saying goodbye to a friend. And I, as a child, did consider him a friend. He was such a big part of my life. As a result, I have a tattoo on my wrist and posters on my wall to signify how much I cared for the series. Today, gaming is bigger than it's ever been. Budgets have exploded, worlds have gotten larger, and graphics have become nearly photorealistic. But despite all of that, I've never found another series that captures the same feeling Uncharted gave me. Not because it had the best gameplay, not because it had the biggest explosions, but because every time I picked up that controller, I felt like I was stepping into the lead role of my own adventure movie. So today, I want to look back at every game in the series, how Naughty Dog continuously raised the bar, and why I don't think we'll ever get a franchise quite like Uncharted again. To understand why Uncharted became legendary, we have to go back to 2007. At the time, Naughty Dog was known for Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. Nobody really knew what to expect when they announced a realistic, cinematic action game inspired by Indiana Jones. When Drake's Fortune released, it wasn't perfect. The gunplay felt clunky, enemy encounters dragged down a little too long, and the platforming was fairly simple compared to the later games. But here's the thing, none of those flaws mattered as much as they probably should have, because Naughty Dog had already nailed the hardest part, Nathan Drake. From the very first chapter, Nate wasn't some invincible action hero. He cracked jokes when things went wrong, and constantly found himself barely surviving situations that should have killed him. He felt like a real person. That realism extended to the other main characters, Sully and Elena. The chemistry between the three of them, instead of sounding like actors reading lines, they sounded like friends. Even the island itself became a character. Dense jungles, forgotten ruins, abandoned bunkers, it all carried an incredible sense of mystery. Sure, the supernatural twist at the end caught some of the players off guard and scared 8-year-old me to death, but it also reminded everyone that Uncharted wasn't just about history, it was about legends. Looking back, Drake's Fortune isn't the best game in the series, but it may be the most important. Without it, none of the adventures that followed would have existed. In 2010, I got a PlayStation 3 for Christmas. It came with no games, and my mom decided 2 days later she would take me to GameStop so I could pick out a few games of my choice. And I picked Star Wars, The Force Unleashed 2, and Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. And out of both of those games, Among Thieves captivated me way more than Drake's Fortune. From that day on, I was hooked, not only with the Uncharted series, but with gaming as a whole. I was obsessed. Naughty Dog didn't just make a better sequel, they made one of the greatest games ever created. Before the title screen even appears, you're hanging off the side of a train that's dangling off the edge of a snowy cliff. It's one of those moments that is impossible to forget, and by far the most iconic opening to a video game of all time. But the incredible part is that it isn't just a flashy opening. The entire game somehow maintained that same level of quality. Combat felt tighter, climbing felt smoother, the pacing rarely slowed down. Every location from the streets of Nepal to the peaceful Tibetan village felt completely unique. And then there were the characters. Chloe Fraser instantly became one of the series' best additions. Harry Flynn's betrayal genuinely caught players off guard, and Tenzin proved you didn't need a shared language to create an unforgettable friendship. Every chapter naturally built toward Shambhala, creating a finale that somehow felt even bigger than what came before. Then there were the set pieces. The collapsing hotel, the convoy chase, the helicopter, the train. Even today, developers still reference these moments when talking about a cinematic game design. Among Thieves didn't just raise the bar for Uncharted, it raised the bar for the entire industry. Drake's Deception may not have reached the same critical acclaim as Among Thieves, but delivered one of the most unforgettable sequences in the franchise. The opening bar fight immediately set the tone. For the first time, we also got to see a younger Nathan Drake and learn how he first met Sully, giving their friendship even more emotional weight. Then, the game never seemed to slow down. escaping a burning chateau, falling out of a cargo plane thousands of feet above the desert, surviving a sinking cruise ship, crossing the endless Rubicali Desert. These moments were pure blockbuster filmmaking disguised as gameplay. Some players felt as though the pacing wasn't quite as focused as Uncharted 2, and that's a fair criticism. But even if the overall story didn't resonate as strongly, Drake's deception proved Naughty Dog still understood one thing better than anyone else: how to make players constantly say, "There's no way they can top this." And somehow, they did. After a 5-year wait, Nathan Drake had finally returned, but something had changed. This wasn't the same reckless treasure hunter we'd follow for years. He had settled down, matured, and built a life with Elena, his love interest for many years. And he left adventuring behind. At least, that's what he wanted us to believe. Out of nowhere, Sam Drake, Nathan Drake's long-lost brother, returns and pulls Nathan back into a world he promised he would leave forever. And from there, A Thief's End becomes something much more personal than the previous entries. The search for Libertalia isn't really about pirate treasure, it's about obsession, family, regret, and accepting that every adventure eventually has to end. Mechanically, the game series is at its best. Larger environments, the grappling hook, the jeep exploration across Madagascar, the unforgettable chase through the city streets, the breathtaking climb up the clock tower. But the biggest improvement wasn't just the gameplay, it was the quiet moments. Nathan and Elena talking in the kitchen, playing Crash Bandicoot, exploring the attic full of memories. These scenes reminded us why we'd grown to love these characters in the first place. And by the time the credits rolled, it genuinely felt like Nathan Drake had earned his happy ending. Not because he'd found another treasure, but because he finally realized what mattered most. And just when the world thought we would never see the word Uncharted in a title again, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was announced, and many people wondered if Uncharted would survive without Nathan Drake. And the answer was yes. But it also proved how irreplaceable he really was. Chloe Fraser finally stepped into the spotlight here, joined by Nadine Ross and Sam Drake from Uncharted 4. The chemistry between the two was surprisingly strong, and the open-ended exploration showed there was still room for Uncharted to evolve. And The Lost Legacy sure has told a damn good story. Even though the game was short, it was still impactful and had all the best features from an Uncharted title. It had the humor, it had the cinematic set pieces, it had a good villain, and it had a great main character. It had everything that made Uncharted good, besides Nathan Drake. It wasn't trying to replace Nathan. Instead, it reminded us that this world was still full of stories worth telling, because Uncharted was never just about discovering lost cities or ancient artifacts. It was about experiencing those adventures through one of gaming's most likable protagonists. Nathan wasn't perfect, he was reckless, selfish at times. He lied, he made mistakes, he chased treasure when he should have stayed home. But that's why people loved him, because he felt human. He felt like us. The more I think about it, the more I realize Naughty Dog made the right decision. As much as I want another Uncharted, I don't want another Nathan Drake game, because bringing him back would mean undoing one of the best endings gaming has ever given us. Today, games are bigger than they've ever been. Open worlds stretch for hundreds of hours. They have battle passes, seasonal updates, daily challenges, endless content designed to keep players coming back. Uncharted never chased any of that. Uncharted told a story, and dare I say, it did have a great multiplayer. But my point is, it respected your time. Every game knew exactly what it wanted to be. Around 15 hours, one unforgettable adventure, and then it lets you go. And maybe that's why it still feels so special. When people talk about Uncharted today, they don't usually remember how many collectibles they found, they don't remember how much XP they earned, they remember hanging from a train in the Himalayas, falling from a cargo plane above the Rubicali Desert, racing through Madagascar in a jeep. They remember the moments. That's what made Uncharted different. It wasn't trying to give you hundreds of hours, it was trying to give you memories. And somehow, it succeeded. See, in 2010, when I was 8 years old, walking through GameStop, picking out my next big game, I never thought it'd be the game that changed my life, that defined my childhood, made me who I am today. I thought it was going to be another game that I played until my mom had enough money to buy me another game. And Mom, thank you for everything you did for me as a child and for getting me a game that changed my life. But no, Uncharted defined who I am today. Uncharted made my love for gaming what it is today. And for 8-year-old me, Uncharted was a game that made me laugh, stress me out, completely blow my mind, and eventually teach me that every great adventure has an ending. Maybe Nathan Drake's story is over, and maybe we'll never get another Uncharted. But honestly, I don't think that's something we should be sad about, because very few franchises get the opportunity to end on its own terms. Uncharted did. It gave us 4 unforgettable adventures, a perfect goodbye, and a legacy that can still be felt in almost every cinematic action game released today. And every once in a while, I'll hear that iconic Uncharted theme. I'll remember booting Among Thieves for the first time. I'll remember begging my mom to take me to GameStop so I could experience Drake's fortune. And I'll remember exactly why this series still means so much to me. Not because Nathan Drake found every treasure, but because somewhere along the way, he became one of gaming's greatest adventures. And with all that said, I guess Uncharted truly was Sic Parvis Magna. Greatness from small beginnings.